Yeah, we left our headlamps
Bum, bum, bum.
up on the rim.
You're listening to the Grand Canyon Hiker Dude Show, the voice of Grand Canyon hiking. Presented by Hikin', built to help you hike your best hike. Here's your guide, Brian Special.
Forget their headlamps. I mean, who would do such a thing? Surely not a couple of experienced Grand Canyon hikers, including one, Tom, who might be among the most experienced Grand Canyon hikers on the planet. But yes, lessons today in even experienced hikers can make mistakes and mess up and do things that, well, ultimately will hopefully provide teaching moments. I don't know. That's what we're going with. It was one of those moments, but you know, in hindsight, I guess I'm glad it happened because it lets me talk about it. Hey, year 3 of the podcast. 250,000 downloads or so later, we are still going. Year 1, we just kind of cruised right along. Year 2, well, things got tough, obviously. Last year, the Trans-Canyon Waterline project disrupted so many things. And then, of course, the Dragon Bravo fire on the North Rim brought everything to a screeching halt. Suddenly, rim to rim wasn't an option anymore, and it still isn't. And that's what so many people come to us for. So it's left us scrambling a bit, wondering what to do, where we should go, what kind of content y'all want. But we just decided to, hey, get back at it, talk about all things Grand Canyon, and maybe give you some more options that go outside of rim to rim or the corridor trails. But that's where we are starting year 3 of the Grand Canyon Hiker Dude Show. We are still at it, and we are still loving it. It feels like a mission. It feels like a service. And it feels like something that, well, somebody needs to do. So where are we right now as we start year 3? A lot of unknowns obviously remain for all of us. No rim to rim for the foreseeable future. As we have mentioned, North Kaibab still closed just past Phantom Ranch at the junction for Clear Creek Trail. Why North Kaibab is still closed north of Phantom? You know, I don't think anybody knows for sure. It's one of those things where it seems like it could be open at least to maybe Cottonwood so people could still access Ribbon Falls. We know there's going to be some work still going on the Trans-Canyon Waterline project on the North Rim, so that would make sense that it's not open past there. But why you still can't access the box here in the non-monsoon seasons? There's no threat really of flash floods right now. It's been a dry winter. You know, we don't know. It would be nice to get some answers to that so we could know the reason why it's still closed and you can't access Ribbon Falls. I think if there was a reason that was put out there, we would all say, oh, okay, well, that makes sense. But with there being no reasons given, well, we're just everything's just kind of open to speculation. Rim to river, also still not an option on the South Rim, at least in the traditional sense. You can't do the South Kaibab, Phantom Ranch, Bright Angel traditional rim-to-river route because the Trans-Canyon Waterline project has shut down the river trail that connects the Phantom Ranch area in the bottom of the canyon to Bright Angel. So right now, the only option is to go down South Kaibab and then back up South Kaibab, which isn't so bad this time of the year. Or you could go down South Kaibab to the river, then go back up to the tip-off on South Kaibab and cut across on the Tonto Trail and then take Bright Angel out that way. That's another way to do it, or do a Bright Angel round trip, but I wouldn't recommend that because then you'd miss all the incredible views on South Kaibab. So rim to river, the traditional route, should be available again on July 1st, barring any other unforeseen delays with the Trans-Canyon Waterline project. They can get the river trail reopened. They're planning to do so by July 1st, so that would reopen it, but of course that would do so in the most difficult time of the year, the most dangerous time of the year when you've got all the heat to deal with. So realistically, we're not looking at being able to do rim to river, the traditional route of rim to river, until sometime next fall if you want to do it safely. Plateau Point is also closed. It's been closed for more than 2 years now. Hopefully that will be open sometime later this summer as well. But again, the same warnings will apply there with the heat that will be present over the summer. So another way to do this, another way to get some incredible Grand Canyon hiking done while you've got all these closures and detours on the South Rim and the North Rim closures still being in effect, is that you can venture off corridor. and do some of the lesser known, the least popular Grand Canyon trails accessible from the South Rim, which I have been doing and have been, forced to do and been glad to have been forced to do because it's taken me off the corridor. And, there are some incredible things you can still do out there. Tanner, New Hants, Grandview, and Hermit are all easily accessible off of Highway 64. A few weeks ago, I went out and did what I called the South Rim Six-Pack. I'll do a full podcast on this in the weeks ahead, but that was essentially going down 1 mile and back on all 6 South Rim trails that are easily accessible, starting with Tanner Trail, then to New Hants, then to Grandview, then to Hermit, all the way out there to Hermit, and then back and finishing up on the corridor trails, South Kaibab, and then Bright Angel. It went a mile down each and a mile back up. Might not sound like it's too much, but really with all the driving and all the uncertainty on some of the off-corridor trails that are a little harder to follow, it becomes a full day real quick. So that's another thing that is a super fun thing to do, very fulfilling, and be able to give you kind of a flavor, a taste of Grand Canyon hiking and what all the trails do have to offer. My next goal off corridor is to do all of those trails that I just mentioned, rim to river, which is exactly what I did recently on Tanner. And I did it with the man who has been called Mr. Grand Canyon. And yes, even Mr. Grand Canyon forgets headlamps, just like I did. You've heard Dr. Myers on the show many times, Dr. Tom Myers, and his resume just speaks volumes. One of less than 50 people to have ever hiked the length of the Grand Canyon. He's the co-author of the famed Over the Edge, Death in Grand Canyon book, among many other books, and he has 35 plus years as a physician at Grand Canyon Clinic. Tom Myers has made the Grand Canyon his life, and few know the canyon like Tom does. So when we finally made our schedules line up, we jumped at the chance for a January rim to river via the Tanner Trail. This is also a rim to river route that I think, with a little bit of planning and research, any of you listening could do as well. It was an unforgettable day, as most days in the canyon are, but the Tanner Trail provided some surprises that I did not know that I was going to see, especially the scenery. Oh my goodness, so many places out there that, if they were on the corridor trails, they would instantly become iconic must-look, stop-and-look spots that you would run across on the trail. Phenomenal experience. So, a wide-ranging conversation on all things Grand Canyon with Dr. Tom Myers, recorded just after we surfaced at the Tanner Trailhead. This is the Grand Canyon Hiker Dude Show, powered by Hikin'. All right, doing something that we've never done on the podcast before, and that is we're doing it as we drive. Tom and I both like efficiency, and what could be more efficient than finishing a sun-up to sundown, rim-to-river hike from Tanner all the way to the Colorado and back, finishing at sunset. It's now almost dark. We're driving you back to Flagstaff, and then I'm going to continue on to Phoenix. Figured we'd talk about the hike on the way back. How's that sound?
Sounds great.
What did you think of today, man? This was
amazing.
This was kind of a special day, I thought.
That was pretty epic. I mean, we had the perfect conditions and we had the trail to ourselves. Pretty mind-blowing for 2026.
I mean, when you say to ourselves, I mean, we were on this trail on Tanner from sun up to sundown. We started at 7 a.m., finished 9 hours and 54 minutes later, or started about 7:30 a.m., I guess, finished 9 hours and 54 minutes later, and more than a mile of vertical feet down and then back up, and about 16 and a half miles. Big day, put our feet in the Colorado, but when you say nobody on the trail, we did not see a single person the entire day.
Yeah, we didn't see anybody at the river either. I was kind of expecting probably some backpackers. Tanner's such a great place to camp, but no one there, no river trippers either. So we had it entirely to ourselves. Pretty astonishing to me.
Tanner this is the third or fourth time I've been on it now. And it's an incredible trail. I had not been down it more than 2.5 miles down. Went down that far a few months ago when we tried to bag Escalante Peak and failed. I did that with James Temelsoff and had not been any further down than that. So this is my first time below that point and getting down, to the Redwall and below. And I got to tell you, man, There are some hidden gems out here if you get yourself off the corridor trails, because you saw what my reaction was. Tell them what my reaction was when we got essentially to the top of the Redwall and the canyon just opens up all around you. What was my reaction? It was crazy, right?
It's crazy. I mean, your jaw hit the red wall, basically. I mean, your jaw dropped. You're like, whoa, just clearly blown away by the vista and the panorama. It's just spectacular. And your reaction was, that was worth 1,000 words. And mine was the same. Didn't matter if you see it, one or 100 times. It just blows you away. Super pretty.
I mean, that's it. The view is basically similar at that point to what you'll find on the rim at Lippin Point, which has quickly become one of my favorite views, maybe my favorite viewpoint now on the South Rim, because there's just something special about that, man. It just, you can see for so far to the east and so far to the west, and you can see the river to the east and to the west. It's just a different perspective than it is at any other viewpoint I've seen.
Yeah, I agree. I've always thought Desert View, Lippin area. As a matter of fact, when you pointed out Lippin is your favorite, because I've always thought, the Desert View Watchtower area is always my favorite. It's just a little bit different, but very similar. And you get that spectacular, that amazing view way out into the distance to the Painted Desert, to the Red Cliff Wilderness, and then obviously you see the river snaking into the distance, and then right below us with Tanner Rapid, that big serpentine turn. Very few places in the canyon where you have that, and the fact that out in the distance the rim country drops away, so you're looking down on it. That perspective is always, to me, very incredible.
All right, let's talk about the hike, because Tanner's pretty special, and we knew that we were going to need spikes today. This is the second week of January. There hasn't been a lot of snow up here. There hasn't been snow in a week or two, I would say, but there was a lot of snow on the upper reaches of Tanner.
Yeah, it was nice to have those crampons and the trekking poles for sure. That had been slip and slide without it. I'd forgotten how steep it is for the first, what is it, about a mile and a half?
Yeah.
And then you get that nice reprieve, that relatively level, as you're below the Supai and you're heading you're getting down to the top of the Redwall. It's a nice break. Coming back, it was a great setup for the last, climb, but I forgot how steep it is at the beginning.
Yeah. And then at the end.
Yep.
Yeah, those are some slow miles coming back up, especially with the snowpack. It was pretty much solid snowpack, I would say, for that last mile and a half, where you were walking on the snow the entire time. Hard pack, not hard to follow because there had been people before us. But man, I would hate to be on that, like the first one on it after a fresh snowfall. Have you ever had that experience before?
Not completely. I was on the Tanner. Oh shoot, when was that? Probably about, how many guess, 15, 16 years ago, and then we had about 2 feet. But somebody had come through before us, so I could see a few, some footprints and stuff. But we were post-holing a lot, and it was easy to get off a route. You're just kind of going down and hoping that you're still in the drainage, still where the trail is. And eventually, it thinned out. But the one thing I will say about today, too, it was warm enough to where it wasn't like a sheet of ice.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like we were skating. Crampons, you hit that flat rock with a little ice sheet and you just, we didn't have that, thank God. It was a little softer. So
yeah, it was 40 degrees when we started, and it warmed up fast.
Yeah, way more forgiving.
Yeah,
for that temperature.
Yeah, and then you get down below the snow line, and the other major steep part of Tanner is when you're going down the break in the Redwall. That's pretty steep, and when we were going down that. The views out to the river were amazing at that point, but you were going down that knowing you were going to have to come back up it.
Yeah, that Redwall there is pretty cool. I like how it's sort of it's a double stack, and you work your way through. And fortunately, it does go, I thought, pretty quickly. The steepness is not the worst, it can be, but it's still pretty steep, and you get some reprieve every now and then with a little bit of a flat. So I like that Redwall quite a bit.
Yeah.
Some are far worse.
Yeah, seeing the breaks in the Redwall are pretty cool. And you of course wrote the book on Harvey Butchert, and we talked about him a lot today. Probably the most legendary of all Grand Canyon hikers, the legend himself, and he was the master at finding the breaks in the Redwall all throughout the canyon, right?
Oh yeah, that was his thing. Kind of come up from Flagstaff out from his teaching job at NAU teaching mathematics. He'd come up and his goal was just to get rim-to-river routes that didn't require ropes, and he knew the big obstacle was the Redwall, and he found 116 over 42 years of exploring it.
And why is the Redwall? Why was that the big obstacle?
It's the thickest. Its average is probably about 500 feet thick, 600 feet thick.
Just as essentially sheer cliff.
Exactly, because its limestone is so dense. It doesn't erode like, say, Coconino sandstone or some of the other, tapetes or Esplanade sandstone. So you don't get as many breaks through it. They're fewer and far between. And I know that when he was going down, like what we did, we're going down, but we're looking at the red wall on the opposite side of the canyon. It's like, oh, is there any break over there? Well, clearly there wasn't. We were where the fault is and there's a break. But I know that Harvey did that. Every time he went in, he'd look around and he would scan for potential breaks through the red wall. And then obviously the other layers too, to see if there's a potential rim to river route. That was for sure his thing.
And how many did he find?
116.
100 throughout the canyon.
Yeah, all the exploration he did, over 1,000 days. Let's see, what do you have? 12,000 miles. I forget exactly how many days, but a lot. Over 1,000. And mostly route finding. He just, that's what his thing was, trying to find routes where there were no trail.
The show never ends in our Facebook group, and you're invited. Hike Club Grand Canyon is our private hiking community where you'll find Brian, Coach Arnie, and a legion of passionate Grand Canyon hikers of all experience levels there to help each other have their best possible Grand Canyon experience. So if you're serious about hiking the canyon the right way, this is where it starts. Search for Hike Club Grand Canyon on Facebook and join our conversation today.
I don't want to digress off Tanner, but when you start talking about Harvey Butcher, you wrote the book on Harvey Butcher, Grand Obsession. Perfect name, right? What kind of a guy was he? I mean, and this is a guy for, maybe describe him for someone who doesn't know him. What's the Reader's Digest version of who Harvey Butcher was?
Well, yeah, it was the book I co-wrote with Elias Butler, and got to know him. And he was, if I had to give him one word, kind of I would say eccentric. He was a genius. He had a PhD in mathematics, and he taught it a little bit somewhere out in the spectrum, I think. Not the best with social skills, and mostly a serious person. He would chuckle every now and then. He was very friendly and certainly incredibly kind with any information or knowledge he had about hiking in the Grand Canyon. He'd share with anybody who wanted it from him. So I really respected and admired Harvey for that, because it wasn't like he would have all this information, just hoard it and keep to himself. He tried to share it, and he did. He wrote Grand Canyon Treks 1, 2, and 3, and yeah, I really liked him. I wish he was the age of my grandfather, so we didn't have a lot to talk about other than the canyon hiking. Couldn't relate to him on any other things, but overall, a really nice guy, and certainly a genius when it came to Grand Canyon route finding and hiking.
You know how many miles he ended up doing in the canyon?
About 12,000.
12,000.
Yeah, and they were difficult miles.
Yeah.
If you did it all on the BA or the Kaibab or some of the name trails, most of his were like, these are route finding miles. This is like, you're in granny gear. As opposed to the Autobahn of the Kaibab or BA, he's just rock crawling essentially on his feet, and with his hands at times. So really hard miles, not all miles are created equal. We know that in Grand Canyon for sure.
Yeah. I've learned that more and more as I've gone off corridor. I would say New Hants especially. Oh yeah. All miles are not created equal, but that's the same too with Tanner.
Yep.
And a lot of the other off corridor trails, and of course going off trail. Period. As you have done so much, walking the entire length of the Grand Canyon, with your son Wes. The Grandest Trek, everybody. That's Tom's latest book. We've talked about it before. We did a podcast with him and with Wes recently as well. So go back and check that out if you want to learn more about the Grandest Trek. All proceeds, I have to add that, go to the Grand Canyon Conservancy, because again, that's the kind of guy the guy I'm riding back to Flagstaff with right now is. That's the kind of guy Tom Myers is. And one other thing on the Harvey Butcher thing, you pointed out to me today as we were headed down, the butte that was named after him. That's a pretty cool story.
It is. Eli Butler and I, actually there were several people that were involved with trying to get a geologic feature in Grand Canyon named after Harvey when he passed away. He died in 2002. It takes quite a bit of work to do that, and they got to be dead at least 5 years, I believe it is. Anyway, this one is off the North Rim. It's by Siegfried Pyre, Cape Final area, pretty hard to reach. We thought it was a good choice just because it was a very humble-looking butte, but really rugged-looking. Not huge, but it's really remote. It's really hard to get to. So that's perfect. That's Harvey. That's the essence of the man.
Like you can get to it, but it's hard to get there.
Hard to get to it.
Yeah.
It's not really big. He wasn't a big man. He was about 5'7", 130 pounds. But nerves of steel. Muscle and tendons that are. He was one of a guy who hiked with him. Robert Packard said he was built out of piano wire. And he was just so that was neat that Harvey does have that feature named after him, and Eli and I got to hike out there shortly after it was named and bring Harvey's ashes and climb the thing and leave a little ammo can with a little some information about who Harvey was, just so anybody who climbs it could read about him.
You knew him. You think he'd like that?
Yes, he was kind of timid and pretty shy. He didn't like a lot of attention. I think he would like it, but he'd almost be embarrassed by it. But certainly was worthy of it. So I would try to convince him. It's like, Harvey, you're worthy of this. So don't take it as an offense. And I don't think he would have. I think he would have actually been flattered.
It's a beautiful story, Tom. It really, truly is. I mean, everything, the thought that went into that, to not just name any feature, but to really relate it to who the man was. I mean, that's pretty special stuff. Thank you for sharing that story with us and with me today. And I'm glad that I got to see where Butchert Butte, is that what it's called?
Yep.
Butchert Butte.
Mm-hmm.
Perfection. Simple, just like the man was.
Yep.
So we continued on down today. The goal was to get to Tanner Rapid. And we got there 8.5 miles about is what I had. I think 8.6 or something like that. It may vary to what your mileage is or what NPS says, but that's what I had. And over 5,000 feet. And I thought that part was really interesting. I digress a little bit here. When you stand at the rim at Lippin Point, at Tanner Trailhead, essentially, and you're looking out over the canyon, you always talk about the grand deception and how people can get themselves in trouble because everything looks closer than it actually is. I think at Lippin Point, for whatever reason, the canyon doesn't look as deep as it does when you're in Grand Canyon Village or you're looking down from Bright Angel Trailhead or South Kaibab. It doesn't look as deep. I think because it's so expansive and it's right in front of you. And so I wondered, I'm like, the canyon's not as deep there. It's shallow. So I don't think it's, South Kaibab's 4,800 feet to the river. Bright Angel's 4,400 feet to the river. It doesn't look like it's that deep. But when we got to the river today, it was 5,300 vertical feet, and that blew me away.
Yeah, I know. When you said that blew me away as well. I've always thought it was a little bit like shallower.
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
So yeah, it's stunning, shocking. I think for sure at Lippin or Desert View, because the river looks fairly wide there. It looks close. It's always deceived me that way too. Even when we're halfway down, it's like, God, it seems like the river it still seems really close, but it seems like we're not that any closer.
Not even down the Redwall yet.
Yeah, I know. It was very deceptive. That's for sure. Grand deception fits the Tanner Trail.
Yeah.
But
super interesting.
One thing I will say about Tanner too, I don't know if you were going to mention something else, but I think it's a user-friendly trail. I really like the fact that once you get down the steep part at the beginning, you got that more of a gradual traverse, as you get toward the top of the Redwall over there. You get through that, then you're on that shale, and it opens up, and it's far less intimidating. Some of the, like you said, the hands, or some that are really steep, really rocky. You're in side side drainage. You don't have this wide open, just huge panorama in front of you. So over there, it just seems a little more friendly to me, if that's the word for it. I don't know. What did you think?
Yeah, I think that the only place where, and I want to try to relate this to folks who may consider doing Tanner as opposed to South Kaibab, you can't do North Kaibab, South Kaibab, Bright Angel, the more traditional hikes. I feel like Tanner is a really good one to take on as your first maybe off-corridor hike, because you're right, the trail's not overly difficult to lose once you get down the first mile or so. That's I feel like the only place that you can lose it a little bit at the top, maybe, but you're not going to lose it for long because there's not a lot of places to go, right?
Right.
And then the only other place that I thought that you could potentially lose it is when you're in the drainage, the creek bed down at the bottom, where you have to kind of look for some cairns to.
Right.
I think there are some cairns that go off to the west to Beamer.
Right.
And then you got to just make sure you take the right trail. But that's the only place, and that wasn't overly difficult.
No.
But you're right. It's fairly gentle the rest of the way, and it's going to be very difficult to lose.
Yeah. And you get that extra, a couple miles versus the South Kaibab, right?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, South Kaibab is about 6.5 to the river. So
yeah,
it's
so it just
8.5.
sort of has that gradual, and you're on that sloping, on that slopey shale, which is so easy on the joints.
Yeah.
It's just not near as hard.
I will say that the one thing that I think I'll remember the most is looking up all of a sudden and seeing the river. Like just like 100 yards away, you suddenly look up, you're going down this drainage through this creek bed that you wouldn't want to be in a flash flood, but you see today the river is running green, and you could just see the water at the head of Tanner Rapid, and that water was just pumping. And then we went off to the left and went up a little bit and looked down on the river. And then went down to the river and dipped our feet and had lunch and looked at Tanner Rapid. And I know you are a river junkie. Always a good experience to be sitting on the banks of the Colorado, isn't it?
No, I love it. I've always kind of likened, when the river comes, when you hear the first murmur, and I know we heard that probably
We're pretty high up.
We were pretty high up. I don't know if it's top of the Redwall, but anyway, you hear that. It's always a sort of a refreshing and
kind of exciting because you're going down there.
Well, it's really exciting. It's also reassuring to you. It's like, hey, the river's, I can hear it now. So it helps to ease any maybe nerves and stuff. It helps the nerves. But then when you finally get down into the drainage and you see the river for the first time, it's kind of like the rock star entering the stage at this concert you've been waiting for. Maybe you got there early, or you've been waiting there for hours, and finally, the main act, the rock star enters, and it's a guaranteed thrill every time. For me, it is. When I see the river, it's like, oh yeah. And to get down there and hang out and just listen to the burbles, or listen to the roar of the rapid like Tanner today, I just love it, especially to sit there and eat our lunch and just enjoy it. It's so pretty. And like you commented on the slick of the tongue, it's just so graceful, so elegant. And then the maelstrom down below of the whitewater, that juxtaposition is fascinating.
Yeah, I think I said there was something. I was like, there's something sexy about that fast-moving water in the middle that is just like glass.
It is.
Before it turns into the whitewater. It's just, man, it's incredible. And when you're sitting down there on the banks of the Colorado at Tanner Rapid, I mean, you're talking 3 feet in front of you. That water is just moving. Yeah. So, I mean, you're just right in the throes of it.
You are, so, and, obviously you put your feet in there, but we didn't do anything stupid like try to walk in there, and it was pretty cold. But even on a hot day, you don't want to get in that current because it's very deceptive, because it does move really quickly. As soon as it starts funneling into the rapid, it's like it really accelerates fast. And so you got to be careful when you're around it. It's like, enjoy it, but don't push your luck swimming in it at the top of a rapid, especially.
I meant to ask you when we were down there.
Yeah.
Being, of course, that you've co-wrote Death in Grand Canyon, Over the Edge, Death in Grand Canyon with Michael Guglieri. And it was, this is crazy, right? It was essentially in that area down there where the idea for Death in Grand Canyon was born. Will you tell us that story?
Yeah. Well, I'll try to condense it down. Yeah. That's where the birth of death.
I love it.
That's where it was birthed. Death in the Grand Canyon.
If you're stopping every time you need fuel, you're hiking the hard way. Hike Packs put what you need up front with a front access harness and 6 built-in pockets. That means your snacks, water, essentials, are always within reach while you keep moving. Our Rim to Rim Pack and Canyon Elite both carry 25 liters. The Canyon Elite gives you extra support with a hip belt. Hike your best hike at hikin.club. That's HIKIN.club.
I was on a solo hike, a day hike. I was young. I was a lot younger than I am now, 30 years younger almost. And I had a day off from the clinic and I wanted to go hike all the way to Little Colorado and back, down Tanner, over to, across the Beamer, over the LCR and back, probably about 35 miles.
Which would have been another 8 miles from where we were, right? And then 8 miles back.
Yes.
That's a day hike. Holy mackerel.
Holy mackerel. And I played a prank on some private boaters. I'm not going to go into all the detail there, but it was quite funny, I thought. I was by myself, and they didn't think so. But anyway, it did stall my hike for quite a bit. But it just so happened that delay allowed some boats, a river trip from Oars, a commercial river trip, to actually come into view and float down about the same time I got off top of the Tapeats cliffs, the Tapeats band, and could jog back down to the river and meet them. The timing was perfect because of that delay.
And you were trying to hitch a ride.
I wanted to hitch a ride bad because I was really tired. I was pretty beat. I was on my way back. I'm like, crap, I still have, 15 miles or whatever to do at that point. Anyhow, I happened to I knew the trip that came out. It was Oars, and I had done some baggage boats, rowing some baggage boats for them. And I knew the lead boatman. That was Michael. He was in the front boat. I'd done a trip or two with Michael. And so I called him over to the side of where I was hiding in the tamarisk and stuff. And anyway, I was just teasing him that he was late to pick me up. But I hopped in his boat and he gave me a ride back to Tanner. But during that boat ride, we discussed what writing stuff each of us was doing. And he finished up a book, and I was doing this monograph called Fateful Journey. It was about how dangerous it is to run the Colorado River and Grand Canyon. And then we sort of brainstormed about collaborating on a book about it. My monograph was about whitewater injury and death. And Michael said, hey, let's do something together on the whole canyon on injury and death. And, I thought it was pretty daunting because I knew how hard the river was. But eventually I thought, you could probably do it. I did it on the river. We could probably, together, he and I could do this. So that's how that Death in the Grand Canyon came to be. That moment on the river, just a little bit upstream from where we were, where Michael and I concocted the idea. And then it was a couple years later that we had a book in print.
Sometimes you just got to find that go button and push it.
Yeah, I know. It was serendipity. And yeah, looking back, it's like, I'm really glad we did.
Yeah. I mean, how many books have you guys sold now?
Shoot.
In the hundreds of thousands, probably.
Probably about 420,000.
Oh, man,
maybe.
That's amazing. Congratulations.
Yeah. No, thanks.
You guys deserve it. I mean, that book is legendary.
Well, thanks. I didn't plan that, honest to God.
No.
It was never my wildest imagination or dreams. I never would have thought of that, and I didn't.
Yeah, you're doing more for the project, for the work, for the
to save a life. I mean, honest to God, it
life.
sounds maybe cliche or something, but really that was a big goal of the monograph for sure. It's like, hey, what on the river? What can we learn about how people get hurt and die if they do a trip in the Grand Canyon? And what can we do to mitigate the risk? That was the whole point of that.
Yeah,
and a lot of the stories in the Over the Edge, exactly the same premise.
Yeah, that's how that book reads. I've talked about this many times before, and now this is the third book we're promoting for Dr. Tom Myers here on the podcast. But
thank you. I know. Honestly,
it's all my doing. You would never ever promote something because that's just not who you are.
Well,
I'm going to do it for you.
Becky, my wife, I got to sell some of these books, but just to recoup costs, it's like dumped a bunch of dough in it. But that whole goal, like you mentioned early on, is if it does make anything overall, it's all going to Grand Canyon Conservancy. And we've already given them quite a chunk of money for it. So it's pretty cool. I'm pretty proud of that.
And that book is Death in Grand Canyon, Over the Edge, Death in Grand Canyon, it's a survival guide. And I do feel like, and I've said this from day one, from the first time I read it, the first time we talked about it, I feel like it should be required reading for anyone who is going below the rim. because these stories, I think there's a misnomer out there among some people that are like, oh, this is a depressing book. It's just about people who die, and who wants to read about that? Well, first of all, a lot of people want to read about that if that's what it was about.
Uh,
But the reality is, when you start reading these stories, and the way you guys did it is that it's almost like a narrative. It's a story. It's not just facts and figures, right? There are those, but these are individual stories that you guys have humanized, and make us, care about these characters, these real life people and what they went through. And sometimes in the book they die, and sometimes in the book they don't. You never know really what's going to happen with the way you guys did this book, but the overarching theme is that it is a survival guide, especially the long chapter on heat-related deaths in the Grand Canyon. I think if you don't read anything else, that's the most preventable thing that can get you in trouble in the canyon. And I know you're proud of that, with all the heat-related injuries and deaths that you've dealt with at Grand Canyon Clinic.
yeah, he became a focus for me, trying to wrap my mind around it, and then use any information or understanding or knowledge that I gleaned from things I would read, and also, latest and greatest in what we know from science and medicine about preventing and treating heat illness, and then have that focus and use it to educate our visitor are super important. And Brian, one of the things, just going back to say the birth of death, when I talked to Michael about doing it, because I just, I knew it'd be a ton of work, and it's like,
Oh
well,
my God.
do we do this, and will it will it sell? Well, death does sell. We know that. And if you can get somebody's attention and say, tell a story about some tragedy, maybe this person will live. And if you don't give it away right up front, you can hold somebody's interest. And if they do die, but you hold their interest because there's a series of decisions made that led to the fatal outcome. And then at the end, you slip in the life-saving lessons. Well, here's what could have been done different. But anyway, talking to Michael and are strategizing about how we might formulate the book, one of the things that did stick out in my mind was the death of Philip Grimm in 1996, he was only 10 years old, and he died of heat stroke down the South Kaibab. And they flew him out to me at the Grand Canyon Clinic. They had run a full code on him because he went unresponsive. He was pulseless, and he needed advanced life support measures to try to get him back. And even though his core temperature was back to normal, we couldn't resuscitate him. And to pronounce him dead, that was one of the saddest moments in my whole medical career. And I thought, no child should die like this, for sure. And his mother called me a year later and said, just destroyed my life. It's just ruined my entire world. Losing Philip has been so horrible, and it's destroyed my family. None of us talked to each other, and unfortunately Philip was down there with his great aunt and his great uncle and his grandmother, and his mom wasn't there. But so that was a big impetus. His death was a big impetus for Death in the Canyon.
Yeah, I know you've talked about that often, and we've had that story. We've done full episodes on that on the podcast. Yeah. An incredible story. Definitely go back and listen to that one. We did one on Margaret Bradley, the Boston marathoner who tragically passed away in the canyon. So a lot of lessons to be learned from what happened to them. And I'm glad that you talk about that in the book. And I'm glad that the people can, relate to those stories and hopefully not make the same mistakes. So there's something else I wanted to talk to you about that I didn't tell you that we were going to talk about, but, I know a couple of weeks ago you lost your mom, who was in her 90s and lived near you in Flagstaff, and is the one who introduced you to the Grand Canyon. And I'm just curious if you wanted to speak on that a little bit.
Oh, well, thank you. I owe so much to my mom. I think besides her introducing us to the canyon and taking it, that was our big vacation, going to the South Rim. It was close. It was cheap, and it was iconic. From Flagstaff, 80 miles away.
With a lot of kids in tow, right?
Yes, 9 of us.
Wow.
And we were a welfare family. But the thing about my mother that I really, really appreciated and admired about her was her resolve for anything she wanted to do. I mean, she would never say never. I've always thought my mom, she was almost 93, but she'd be one of the last people alive in Auschwitz. And I would never want her in that situation. However, my mom just had an incredible will and resolve and toughness. Never, never give up. Winston Churchill, fight, fight, fight. Work hard. You know, you can do a lot of things if you put your mind to it and you never give up. And that's what I'll always remember best about my mom was her resolve and encouraging me to, challenge myself. And the biggest challenge at that time, my young life was like, running down like Kaibab, for example. But yeah.
I mean, you just said you grew up in a welfare family,
Yeah.
and there were, you said, 9 of you.
Yep.
You had every possible reason and excuse to not end up becoming a doctor, and then when you became a doctor, to have children who followed in your footsteps. So your mom, really, by encouraging you to do that, when the odds were against you, Tom, I mean, it's changed your entire family tree.
It has, you flatter me, but it has, to break the poverty cycle was pretty cool. It's been really cool. And my mother would say, go to school, work hard, don't give up, just, work hard and stuff. And I took it to heart. I'm like, I was a mama's boy and a mom pleaser. And so that really played a role in all that. I didn't want to disappoint her. I really loved and respected her. So, but just that, heard those mantras, go to school, work hard, challenge yourself. Don't settle for less than your best, try to live my life by that. And my kids, try to teach them the same thing. It's like, look, anything worth having, it's not going to just fall in your lap. You got to work for it. You got to earn it. It's like, if it was easy to get, everybody have it, then we probably wouldn't be worth anything. So yeah, I'm really proud of my kids kind of sort of following in the the footsteps, and also, using my mom's words to help encourage them.
And you said she was tough and from a different generation.
She was
and a single mom,
yeah,
all that stuff, raising
yeah.
all these kids. But could you ever tell? And the answer might be no. But could you ever tell that she was proud how you ended up?
Oh yeah, she was very proud of that. I think this sounds kind of bad, but a lot of her hopes for success with her kids hinged on me to a degree. And that's not to discount my siblings. They're all really hard workers, mostly blue collar, just salt of the earth. And but I know that she really, really wanted, somebody to become a doctor of my 7 brothers. And she didn't really, the girls, she would talk about careers for them, and then wanted to be a priest, and somebody to be a banker, somebody to be a lawyer. But I think we didn't want to disappoint her. And, I felt like a lot of pressure to a degree to kind of help my mom with this sort of hope that, one of her kids would maybe get an advanced academic degree like a doctor. And so I think she felt it maybe helped her and the family status, all of us to, we're not trailer trash, for lack of a better term. It's like, I hated looks, if you have food stamps and people would flash you a trailer trash look, like, oh, you're just from a crappy family. That's why you're on those things. It's like, no, there's a lot of reasons for this. And so to get past that meant an awful lot to me. And I know it meant a lot to her. And when I got in, I'll never forget the day we both cried about it. We were together and she hugged me and we cried because it was a hard road to just get in. For me, that was the hardest part, just getting in. So
what was her name?
Sharon
Myers.
Yeah.
She did good. She did good.
She did. And thank you for thinking of her. And I really appreciate that. And I love you, Mom. And, yeah, she would be really proud of this.
Big part of your story, Tom. Big part of your story. Okay, back to Tanner. We eventually had to get ourselves out of there. And this is something that we've got to own, all right? As what are supposed to be experienced Grand Canyon hikers, especially you, by the way. I'm nothing compared to you.
False.
But we both made this mistake, Tom.
Yeah, we did.
So we get to the river. It was just before we got to the river when we both realized that...
Yeah, we left our headlamps
Bum, bum, bum.
up on the rim. Or I think I left mine in my house. Yours was in your car.
Yep, two of them in the car, charging.
Yeah, I know. And we both did that big swallow, like gulp. Uh-oh.
That changed the calculus immediately.
It did. It's like, how did that happen?
How in the world did that happen?
It does.
These did that, and there's a lesson there, because these things do happen. No matter how experienced you are or think you are, you can leave something out. You can make a mistake. We did not have a written checklist. We did not check with each other.
No.
Both things that we should have done, because, I mean, there's probably, I don't know if there's anything more important than having a headlamp, filter, water, food, first aid. But
Something
a
to start a
headlamp
fire,
has to fit in there.
I got to have the headlamp.
Got to have a headlamp.
Okay.
Especially in January when the days are short.
Right.
And we didn't know how long it was going to take us.
Becky calls me the absent-minded professor, she does, because I forget a lot of stuff. I know. I'm embarrassed to say that, but my kids love to tease me about that. It's like, shoot.
Add me to the list, baby.
Yeah, one time I went pack rafting west and I forgot the pack raft. I'm like, you couldn't believe it. I was like, Dad, you what? And I'm like, I got everything but the raft. It was right there. It was right there, son.
That changes things.
Yeah. So anyway, that's kind of like, it happened, but I had it there. I knew it. But I'm going to just say your idea to have the laminated checklist for essentials.
Yeah, that's what came out of this.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I wish I would have had that, because I have a whole list, and it's on a file on my computer, and I print it off for a big backpack trip or for a river trip. I didn't do it for a day hike, but if you have one, even for even say the backpack, but here's the essentials you need, whether you're doing a day hike or an extended, backpacking trip or river trip. It's like, well, what do you need for, just for a serious,
basics.
For just maybe sustain your life or self-rescue.
Yeah. I mean, I've got it on my phone, right? We've got it on our phone. You've got it on your computer, but you need it right in front of you.
I think so.
I'm sure plenty of people have laminated checklists.
Yeah.
But maybe we just need to create one we can give away, or
or you
have for people to download, because I need it, and you need to put it on your pack or in the pocket of your pack. And it needs to become a ritual. I think you go through that, and if you're with someone, that you go through it together. Because, I mean, let's be honest here. I mean, we had our phones. We could have used our phones for light if we needed to.
Right.
But not having a headlamp on a trail that is snowpacked and hard to follow, when we would be coming up potentially in the dark, not necessarily a good idea.
No, I've been on trails, not in the snow, without a headlamp, where my batteries were dead and stuff, and it can be horrible, especially tonight. It's not very much of a moon, right? No. So that'd have been really. And then you got to think about bivouacking, which could be really bad, especially if you don't have a space blanket or something to keep warm. But I think the laminated list, and maybe you could clip it onto your pack. Yeah. You got it right there. It's like, all right, let me go down this. I'm going to check right now. Pull everything out, make sure to put everything in, make sure it's off the list, is now in the pack. And I love that idea. I think that's something I need. I need lists.
Yeah, most of us do.
Or I need Becky. She's always make sure nothing is missing.
Yeah, what's her reaction going to be when you tell her this?
She'll roll her eyes. She'll be like, really?
I mean, really? No, seriously?
Yeah. She'll be like,
so that
did surprise me.
So that did change our calculus, though. I mean, when we were at the river, it's like, all right, we got to get out of here, because you're looking at the watch. And honestly, when we finished, we probably had 20 minutes, 30 minutes of dusk that we still had to play with. Yeah. But there was not a lot, man. We had to get moving. I had to stop filming so much and taking so many pictures, and by the way, that naturally stops on the way out anyway, because things are no longer as beautiful, no longer as amazing, no longer as cool. You just want to get the hell out of there.
We'll just use that as our alibi. See, if you hadn't done any of that, then we would have been to the river an hour earlier. We would have been out an hour earlier. So we'll just blame it on that, Brian.
Blame it on that. And getting out of there, by the way, getting out of that trail again, coming up through the Redwall, very, very steep. You have got to gain 5,300 feet on the way back out over those 8.5 miles or so. And that last mile and a half is just relentless, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the worst part. I think the Tanner is pretty forgiving, because when you come up out of the river, you get that nice, easy, gradual slope.
Mm-hmm.
You're on that shale, which is actually really nice on the feet. It's not like it's really rocky and, really impacting your feet, pounding there. So it's nice and gradual. Then when you get to Redwall, yeah, that's pretty hard to get on top of that. And then you're buzzing over to the base of the Soup Eye level or Hermit. And then that ascent is really hard.
It is.
But overall,
really
it's
hard.
like, God, it's a great trail. I love it. I've always loved the Tanner, though.
It's awesome.
Yeah, it was nice to be on it again.
Yeah, I loved it. It was an incredible day.
Yeah.
Could not have enjoyed it more. One thing that did happen at the end is, I know I try not to ask you for medical advice or medical opinions or anything like that.
Yeah.
But I got to the point at the end when I put my spikes on, and I've been having just extraordinarily, like, excruciating foot pain and toe pain over the course of the last year, and ball of foot, and I just cannot get rid of it. And so I asked you what to do, and you told me.
I have the same thing,
Ugh!
and I can't get rid of it.
Not what I wanted to hear.
I know. It kicked in on I hiked to Clear Creek in Chava Falls probably about 5-6 years ago, and I just stepped. I'd done another big hike right before that, but I stepped on a rock just right, and it was between the balls of the second and third toe, and it's metatarsalgia. It's an inflammatory process there. I'm pretty sure that's what mine is. I've already seen a specialist, and I've tried a bunch of stuff, and it hasn't worked. Especially if you keep hiking. Even if you don't, mine hasn't gone away.
Yeah.
It just really calms down, and then almost gone, and then it'll flare back up. So I'm sure it's going to be talking to me tonight.
Yeah, I was
Probably
looking
like
for,
yours.
I was looking for
The cure.
I was looking for something, man. I was
Yeah,
looking for some hope,
sorry.
and you just dashed it right
know.
there. So I guess I'm just
Sorry
gonna
to
have
disappoint you.
to continue.
What a
to deal with
quack.
it. But it's worth it to hike the canyon, I suppose.
I think so. Yeah.
This was an amazing day, Tom. So grateful that we were able to do it.
Yeah.
And I know there's going to be more.
Yep.
And I just want to say, as always, man, thank you so much. It's an honor to know you and an honor to hike with you. And so excited that we'll be able to do it again someday, bad feet and all.
Well, the feelings are mutual. I'm just glad we made it happen. We've been talking about it for a couple of years, and kicked that can too far down the road. So I'm really glad that we could make it happen now, and the weather cooperated. It was perfect. It was a great day.
That was Dr. Tom Myers, a.k.a. Mr. Grand Canyon. By the way, we discovered one other tidbit about each other on this hike that I don't think either of us will ever forget. We know someone who has the same birthday, and that's Tom and me. January 18th. We are exactly 10 years apart. I'm 10 years older. No, I'm just kidding. You're 10 years older than me. You'll be 63 on Sunday.
Yeah.
I'll be 53.
I love it. I don't know. What do the astrologers say about that?
I don't know.
I know there's some significance in it, other than I think it's really cool, but hey, maybe it was meant to be. The stars aligned that you and I would share the same. And like you said, it's nice to have that even number, 10 years apart.
Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't do that Navajo taco and the beer at Cameron, which we need to do that. One of our birthdays, okay? I'm going to take you there for one of those because you're going to love it.
Maybe a birthday hike should be a tradition, man.
Yeah, Navajo taco and a beer, though, over there at Cameron Trading Post.
I love it, man.
They're the best.
We'll have to do it.
Yeah.
Honored to share a birthday with you, my friend.
Ditto.
Oh, I just love it. Okay, so for the numbers. Now, I usually rail on personal GPS devices, but I have found the Garmin Epix Pro to be pretty spot on in comparison to NPS numbers. So I've started going with what it tells me, but still take it all with a grain of salt. Now, NPS has this hike at 9.5 miles to the river. I only got 8.3 and 16.5 overall. So that is a pretty big discrepancy. But NPS has the elevation loss to the river at 4,700 feet, and I measured 4,731. But total elevation loss and gain, when you take into account the ups on the downs and the downs on the ups, was 5,850 vertical feet. So more than 1,000 feet more elevation gain on the way out than South Kaibab has, for comparison's sake, which is pretty significant. Difficulty-wise, at least on the same level, I would say, as the South Kaibab to Phantom to Bright Angel, rim to river. Tanner is steeper in spots than South Kaibab is, especially the last mile to the rim. But overall, I would say the effort is very similar. So if you've trained for a traditional rim to river, I would say you would fare just fine on Tanner. And boy, is it memorable. In terms of time of year, this one definitely falls into the never category for a day hike during the warmer months of the year. It's very, very exposed, especially the bottom half, and there is no water availability whatsoever between the rim and the river. So you will need to pack all the water you need for going both directions or filter the river water, which can be somewhat of a challenge when the river is running brown and full of sediment, but it is doable. The Tanner Trailhead is located not far inside the east entrance of the park at Lippin Point, which is incredible in its own right. I've been talking about this a lot lately. If you are looking for the best and the coolest Grand Canyon overlook, Lippin Point, right there near the top, again, just inside the east entrance. So it's a bit of a drive away from Grand Canyon Village, but it's worth it. The canyon just presents itself to you in different ways out there on the east side than it does anywhere else. So the Tanner Trail, Lippin Point, 10 out of 10. Highly recommend. Put them on your list. All right, let's hear from Coach Arnie for the first time this year. Now, if you don't know, Arnie Fonseca Jr. is our resident exercise physiologist and canyon coach who has helped many fulfill their dreams below the rim. He's also an accomplished canyon hiker who not too long ago became the only known person over the age of 65 to do a quadruple crossing of the canyon. That's a rim to rim to rim to rim to rim, which is just, it's mind-boggling to even say, much less think about doing. Coach Arnie has many proven strategies for successful Grand Canyon hiking, but none more so than the one he has become known for and he's talking about today.
Today's tip is one of my all-time favorites, walking backwards. And, besides the big toe and the tib raises, walking backwards might be the most important thing that I teach. So I'm going to go through some points here, and then I'm going to give you an assignment. So first, here's a little history that I'm not sure if I've ever shared, that I have a bone-on-bone right knee. And I hear that all the time from people about why they can't do things because of, the bone-on-bone knee. Well, I've got that, and I've had it for a long time. So I just wanted to clear the air with those of you that might be experiencing something similar. But I also did my R5 last year and only hiked once a week with an easy barefoot walk as recovery. So just wanted to share that as well. But I walked backwards at least 5 days a week. Did everybody hear that? I walked backwards at least 5 days a week. And so my next point is this. Did you know if you lived in China and you had knee pain, debilitating knee pain, they would make you walk backwards? How's that? They would make you walk backwards. So here's my tip. It's really a question. Why isn't everyone here walking backwards? And let me be clear. I don't mean working it in. That's a Coach Arnie sore spot, working it in. I mean intentionally walking backwards. So here's your assignment. Let's commit to doing 3 backwards walking sessions a week. And I mean a minimum of 10 minutes a day. Now, you could do more, but I mean a minimum of 10 minutes a day. Okay. And that's important. Then I want you to report back in the Facebook group. Okay. How's it going? I want to know. Is it better, worse, same? Let us know. Let's have a conversation. So report back in the Facebook group. Because look, we want to be better in 26. We're going to be better. I'm 66, and I know some of you are older than me and some of you are younger than me. I'm committed to being better each and every day and each and every year. So that's my challenge to all of you. Let's commit to those 10-minute sessions. I love you guys. And as usual, if you have any questions, you can reach out to me anytime. And most of you know, I will answer the phone. I will answer your questions. All right? So I love you guys. So let's make 26 better, and let's commit to being backwards walking machines. I love you guys. Talk to you later.
Yeah, and if you're in our Facebook group, Hike Club Grand Canyon, you know that there are many testimonials from folks who have jumped on the walking backwards trend and had a lot of success with it. If you'd like to reach out to Coach Arnie to talk about that or anything else with your own personal health journey, his contact information is in the show notes, and that includes his phone number. He usually answers the phone too, by the way, but if he doesn't, he will call you back. He does it because he cares and because he shares the mantra that influences everything we do here on the show and in the Facebook group and even through our hiking packs and gear at Hikin'. We exist to help you hike your best hike and have your best possible Grand Canyon experience. It all comes straight from the heart from all of us. Hey, we would appreciate it so much, by the way, if you'd leave us a review wherever you are listening. That helps us out so much. So would you go and do that? We would really appreciate it. All right, that is it for now. We're after it. My name is Brian Special, encouraging you, as always, to go hike the canyon. You can do it. Take that first step. Embrace the journey. And when you get there, whether it's for time goals or taking your time, just hike your own hike and savor every step in the majestic Grand Canyon. We'll see you next time on the Grand Canyon Hiker Dude Show, powered by Hikin'. Support the brand that makes this show possible at hikin.club. And don't forget your headlamps, everybody.